Well, we've got Dr. Klein in the studios with us again today. And Dr. Klein, we want to talk about everyday needs, not only at home, but also in the office. Now, see, in the office, you already have first aid because you're a doctor and you've got everything there. But most people go to your place of work, and people think about where you work. Now, think about somewhere in the commissary, somewhere in the little kitchenette, is a white plastic box that says first aid kit. God knows what's in there or if it's even any good anymore. But what do we need around the house? What do we need first aid wise, especially coming out of the hurricane? I worry about the people who might have had a scratch, people who might have had a cut, and never thought of anything until it was too late.
You betcha. And there are a lot of circumstances around your house that require immediate attention. Hence the phrase first aid. You are there first, you are on the spot, you just need to know what to do. Those little white boxes, by and large, are fairly useless. They're great if your grandkids have a scratch. They're marvelous places to leave Band-Aids, maybe a little bit of tape. But for the most part, by the time you get to those things, somebody's already used up the supplies and did not replace them. So once a year or thereabouts, it's a really good idea to go to Costco, and they're always selling fire extinguishers and first aid boxes. Buy them, replace them. Use the boxes for sewing kits. Do what you want to with them, but refresh these things. They're very, very inexpensive, and you'll be happy that you did it. But with regards to true first aid, we're not talking about little scratches and dinks and whatever. You know, you can go out and you can put the butter on the grandkids' burn, make them happy. But the real issue is going to happen when something like a puncture wound occurs, okay, and you need to get in there and get the job done and get it done quickly. So a fish hook. You're going to find fish hooks here in Florida. Sometimes they find you. Okay, so you're on the beach, you step on a fish hook. That fish hook hits you. This can be a life-irritating moment, but It can also be a life-changing moment, especially if it gets you in the hand. Okay, so this is not a joke. You end up with a fish hook in the hand or foot, okay, you need to go see medical attention immediately. Sometimes you can work the hook out. Sometimes you can work the hook through. But in your first aid kit, you should always have a pair of wire cutters and a pair of pliers. Okay, again, because foreign bodies are sometimes metal, and when they are, you're going to wish that you'd had these handy. You can buy very, very inexpensive stainless steel wire cutters and so on and so forth at someplace like Lowe's. It doesn't really matter. You're going to want to have them handy. Look around and see what you've got. So you're wounded. Okay, you get yourself a scratch. A flying piece of glass hits you. Okay, they're not going to be coming to get you. There's not going to be an ambulance until the storm clears, and that can take hours. When we had Hurricane Charlie, okay, it was hours and hours and hours of waiting until somebody could get to you. That's assuming that the streets are clear, and they never are. So you need to be able to take care of yourself in the meantime. So what do you need? You need these irrigation solutions. We're not talking about normal saline that you see in the hospital, these bags hanging down. When I was in training, we used to use those things to hold things like bourbon, gin, and the odd Kahlua, and we'd have parties with them. But when you had to be in the trenches doing what you had to do, a bottle of bleach or dish soap really came in handy. So having rubbing alcohol under your sink, having hydrogen peroxide under the sink, having bleach in your laundry room, and having dish soap in the pantry can be life-saving. So what do? Somebody just broke their arm. They have an open wound. Okay, you're going to want to cover it. But if there's dirt handy, you're going to want to be able to cut away the clothing. So you need to have a pair of scissors. Bandage scissors are necessary. They're $3. Okay, but you have to have them. They're kept in your kit. What about if somebody gets an object in their eye? This always happens. Somebody ends up with something in their eye. Little Johnny ends up with a piece of dirt in the eye. That's marvelous. What do you do to make an eye irrigation? Okay, boric acid, $2 at Walgreens. Okay, you take tap water, 1 pint, a teaspoon of boric acid, heat it up, dissolve it, and now you have an irrigant for the eye. It works beautifully. Marvelous kind of thing to be doing. So you have to look for common ailments, common injuries, things that are likely to happen around your house in the event of an emergency. You don't have to have suture material there. I do, but you don't have to. But it's very, very nice to have certain things like heavy bandages, wraps, tape. Oddly enough, duct tape, okay, can save your life. Simple redneck duct tape. My God, rednecks figure out all kinds of ways to use duct tape to repair automobiles, but they're very, very useful to treat people as well. You can hold somebody together with duct tape. Having tourniquet material is not a bad idea. Now, back in the day, we used to tell people not to apply tourniquets. Well, I'll tell you what. Okay, if somebody's bleeding to death, and you call somebody on the phone and they tell you, "Hey, do you have a belt handy?" You're hearing the word tourniquet in soft language, okay, because it can save somebody's life. Congressman that was recently shot in Washington, D.C. at the baseball game was saved by a former Special Forces associate by the use of a belt as a tourniquet. Okay, it kept him alive long enough to make it to the medical center in the middle of Washington, D.C. metropolitan area, which is replete with hospitals. So you have to be looking at this thing from a practical standpoint. Laceration, you need to have irrigation solutions. Hydrogen peroxide is the best of the bunch. You can't hurt anybody with hydrogen peroxide. Now, what do you do about somebody that may have consumed a poison? It's a good idea to have some Ipecac handy.
I was going to bring that up.
It's marvelous stuff. Okay, I have a bottle of Ipecac that's at least 30 years old. It's probably not any good anymore, but it was a good idea then, and it's a better idea now. Now, there are people out there that'll say, well, you got to be careful when you use Ipecac. Well, I'll tell you what. I'd rather somebody have it and use it than to run the outside possibility that it's a hydrocarbon ingestion, which is about the only time that an Ipecac wouldn't be a good idea. Okay, so if you drink gasoline and you're feeling sick, note this, Ipecac may not be a good idea. All right, other than that, have it handy. What about activated charcoal? Okay, in the event of a poisoning, activated charcoal can save your life. Back in the day, we had things called methylate, mercurochrome. You can't get it anymore because of the mercury that's in it, but you certainly can get betadine. Okay, so betadine is an iodine solution. Okay, marvelous with regards to irrigating, especially a wounded foot. Very, very important. You step into a hole, you get a nail in it. Betadine is a marvelous irrigant. Does it hurt? No. It looks pretty cool, though. It's kind of reddish orange. It makes a big stain. It's marvelous. These are the sorts of things that you should be doing. I'm going to be making a list of these things on our website to try to get people through the next storm. Odds are nobody will look at it, but I'll do it anyway because I think that's what we need to do. Now, what do you do about your food safety? Okay, so first aid being one thing, but you're going to look at food safety. All right, how do you make sure that your food is good? Well, the first thing you have to do is use your intelligence. So if the food looks spoiled, smells bad, get rid of it. Don't keep it around the house. Okay, why do you not want to keep it too close to the house? Because we also have problems with scavengers. Now, so you're going to go ahead and you're going to empty your refrigerator. You're going to take it out to the trash can along the side of the house, stick it in a white plastic bag so you'll know just exactly what it is. Unfortunately, okay, this is the way it often turns out. You go out there the next day and it's torn to shreds. Now, what tore that bag to shreds? Okay, my money goes on raccoons. Now, what is so bad about a raccoon around your house? More than half of them will carry rabies. Now, rabies is a bummer. Okay, you do not want this. You don't want to be attracting raccoons. So when you're getting rid of things, getting rid of food in your refrigerator in particular, and if it stinks, this is the most important thing you're going to know, and that's to stick it in a plastic bag and then stick it in your freezer. Freeze that spoiled food. Make sure that you don't use it. Make sure that you know that it's spoiled. Okay, but if you freeze it, it doesn't stink anymore. Then when you stick it out for garbage to pick up, the critters don't go after it. They will not go after a frozen block of junk.
Exactly what I did on your advice, and we had gotten that years ago. But I took everything from the refrigerator that was going to stink, and before I even opened the container, put it in a Ziploc bag, put the container in the freezer. 3 days later, the trash guy was going to come. All right, 2 hours before the trash guy, I take that bag out of my laundry room and I take it out there and set it by the curb.
Works every time.
That way, no critters. And that way, the poor trash guy didn't have to concern himself with the stink.
I don't know. Like most everybody else, I don't worry too much about the poor trash guys. But the critters worry me, okay, because they are vectors of disease. So what else do you want to be looking at? You want to be looking at your water safety. So having iodine tablets for your water is not a bad idea, but having bleach is a better idea because you can use bleach, again, as a wound irrigant, but you can also use a few drops of bleach will clean and give you pure water. So the kids swimming in the pool out back, you dump a couple gallons of bleach in there. It should kill most of what might ail them. But you got to keep yourself clean, clear, and free of illness.
Now, does bleach have a shelf life?
No.
So you can just put it somewhere in a shed or anything like that.
You can leave it anywhere you want to. The main issue with bleach is somebody drinking it. Okay, so don't.
That's why you got
drink
the Ipecac.
bleach. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, so no, bleach is fine. Bleach will not go bad. You can keep it around for decades. What will happen is you now have a collector's item. Okay, so people like old cans of things. Why they do, I do not understand. But old bleach containers probably fetch a fortune at the local antique store.
My Ipecac knowledge came about when I was 5 years old, and I was real thirsty, and it was a hot day, and there was a bottle of clear liquid. Well, for a 5-year-old, that's water.
Yep.
No, it was turpentine.
There you go. Ipecac worked just
real
fine.
quick.
You betcha. In that case, I would have used activated charcoal. Okay,
wow.
But it does work. And as long as you're not obtunded, you're not going to get in any trouble. Ipecac becomes a problem when the person that you're administering it to is obtunded. In other words, if they're not entirely with the program, they can aspirate the contents. But if you've got somebody that freshly sucked something down that they shouldn't have consumed, Ipecac works just fine.
Couple of things to keep in mind. One is stagesoflifevitamins.com, stagesoflifevitamins.com. Check that out. It could be a real saver of time for you and a saver of money, and you're getting the right nutraceuticals. Also, just information about Dr. Klein and the Stages of Life, suffernomore.com, suffernomore.com. That's going to do it for this episode. We'll see you again soon right here.